Brandon Holman, aka the Voicest, and I'm starting my first video today. This is going to be a series of a bunch of videos that will eventually teach you how to use dialects or accents for stage or just for fun. Dialects or accents are things like the Southern dialect if you wanted to talk like a Georgia peach, or the Russian dialect if you wanted to learn how to talk in a Russian accent. I'm going to teach you how to do those, but I got to start out using this technique here, which is called the IPA, or the International Phonetic Alphabet. It's not the beer. How I'm going to do this is I'm going to do a couple videos in like a playlist style. I'm going to do 4 or 5 videos with this IPA, and then I'm going to start dialects, and then I'll do a bunch of videos on the Brooklyn dialect teaching you all that stuff, but I will always be referencing these first few videos with the International Phonetic Alphabet. So, without further ado, let's get started. The IPA, or the International Phonetic Alphabet, is a bunch of symbols that represent the sounds that we make as people. Every country across the world uses these symbols to talk. So, whether you're speaking Chinese or Russian or Spanish, all human sounds make the same sounds in general, and these symbols will use that and will be able to use no matter what language or dialect you are speaking. So, let's learn some stuff. The IPA, episode 1, we're going to learn about what the IPA is, and then we're going to talk about consonants and stuff like that. So, these are some of those symbols that I was talking about. And these are the weird ones that you'll see. Most of the time, you'll actually be using letters that you know very well already. But these are, most commonly, you'll use these as vowels or other things like that. This is just an example of how all the stuff that you'll be seeing here eventually. Let's go to first the rules. There are certain rules about the dialects and IPA that you'll need to follow as you're going along your journey. So let's start with rule number 1. Rule number 1, there are no capital letters in the IPA. They just don't show up. So anytime you use like a proper noun like Brandon or New York or anything like that, you will not use capital letters, considering the IPA is meant to only talk about how the sounds of it work, and you don't pronounce capital letters. So the only time that you'll ever see a capital letter is with the letter I, and that is the capital letter I actually represents the I sound as in bit, but we'll talk about that in our next video. For now, let's go on to rule number B. B. There is no using the apostrophe symbol in the way that you would think. So words like don't, you don't put the little punctuation mark or the conjugation mark between the N and the T. Like I said before, we're only talking about the sounds that you make, and you don't actually sound that word, but you will use that apostrophe symbol when we're talking about stress marks or accent marks, which means in a multi-syllable word, which syllable is the more prominent one. Once again, we'll talk about that later. Let's go into Roman numeral number 3. Every time you use the IPA, you're going to start it with a slash mark and you're going to end it with a slash mark. This shows that you are doing it in the IPA. It's just a common thing that you need to do. It's a universal rule. Everybody knows that you are using the IPA when you start with this and you end with this. Let's talk about today's lesson. Today's lesson, we are talking about consonants. Easy ones. First of all, let's talk about symbols that don't change. These are ones that you'll already know because they don't have any other meaning for the most part. B makes the B sound. D makes the D sound. F makes the F sound. H makes the sound. L makes the ul sound. There's a little connotation with L. We'll get to that here in a second. And so on and so forth. You see all those symbols, they all make the sounds that you would expect. However, these symbols on this page have little variants. They have little side notes. They make the sounds that you'd expect, but they're a little extra. So, W makes the W sound as in word or whoa. But when you have an H, you like words like when, you'll actually have that H in front of it. So you'll go H, W when you're writing it out in the IPA, making sure to use those slash marks. So let me give an example. When you see Family Guy, for anybody of those Family Guy users, Stewie Griffin is a perfect example of this sound.
He talks like, "Oh, Brian, how's it going, Brian? Brian, what's wrong with the way I say whip, Brian?"
There's a very bad Stewie. I promise I do better ones, but I'll use funny voices along these ways as well.
But Brian, what's wrong with the way I say whip, Brian?
So on. Whip. Yeah, you'll use that H sound before. Enough of that. K. The K will replace any hard K sound. So, and that means any hard C's will no longer be C's, they will be K's. So in words like can't, that'll be used a K instead of a C. C does not exist in the IPA, but we talk about that later on in the slide, right down there. Once again, replacing the C, because they don't exist, is the S. So any word like cease, you will use the S instead of the C. Any sound, you will use the S. G is the G sound. The symbol G represents the G sound. So in words like gift, you'd use the G symbol. But in words like giraffe, you'd use a different symbol. So G is for GIF and not GIF, if that helps you in any way. Last but not least, the L. The L is a little bit weird because it has a slightly different symbol for the end of a word, like metal. As you see down at the bottom of this slide here, ooh, I had my mouse on the entire time. I'm sorry, I know that's aggravating. I'll make sure to move that aside for the rest of this. But you see where my mouse is highlighting here, this ol, the schwa, that is the upside down E. That is what the word schwa, if you ever hear that in the IPA, it's the upside down me and that E, and that is the sound. If you're about to get punched in the gut, the sound. So at the end of the word like metal, instead of doing the ol, you'll just do the L symbol with a dot below it, kind of looking like an exclamation point, as you can kind of see here. That will make the ol sound at the end of a word when it is not stressed. Metal. Let's go into symbols that do change or don't exist. This is fun. So this means that there are some symbols that will replace what you know, and some symbols that just do not exist. So let's start with the J. The J sound is a D followed by the J, which is the next word down. So the J, we'll start with treasure. You see treasure is that J sound, that kind of vibrating J, is represented by that 3 that goes beneath the line of letters. You know, like a G. You know, the line goes in below, whatever. It's the J sound. So for the word judge, it's not quite J, because that would be judge, which almost sounds French. I don't know. But it has that little bit harder sound. So that's why you put the letter D in front of it. So you're actually making the d-j, d-j, j, d-j, kind of making that put together sound. So that's what the j sound is. Going on, so I already talked about the j, the soft j, as often represented in that S-U-R-E type thing. But other than that, that's pretty much those two sounds. In the sense of the next symbol, the NG, anytime you have NG in any word out there, you'll have the little symbol that is an N with a little tail. So anything would have that, king would have that. Just kind of has that ng sound to it. QU, anytime you have that in a word, like queen or quiet, you don't have QU. That doesn't get represented in the IPA, but you will represent the sounds that you are making with your mouth. Ergo, when you say qu, you're making a k and a w together. So qu, KW, qu. When you have the soft Y sound, it's in you or your, like useful or usual, you. that will be represented by a J, which is called the fluid J, which is just a regular J, but that will represent the U. There are two different symbols for the TH. That gets a little confusing, but I promise once you get it in your head, it'll be easy to understand. The TH, that is has a little vibration with it when you say words like the or that. That. That'll be represented by that weird backward 6 with a dash through it. Right here. This guy right here. It's weird. It's a weird symbol, but that is what represents. So in the word the, since you feel that vibration between the top teeth and the tongue, that is the symbol you use. So the will be that vibrating TH. Then the non-vibrating or the soft TH is represented by that theta, which is that 0 with a line through it. If you know your Greek symbols, that's the theta. That is for THs that have that soft non-vibrating sound. So with the word with, see how there's no vibration. With. If I were to use the other symbol, it would be with the, which just doesn't sound right. Depending on where you're from, though, I don't know. But when you use the word with, it'll be with, soft TH, and you'll use that theta. Next is the sh sound, the SH sound, and that'll just be that weird elongated swoopy S. Anytime you have the word sh, like shopping, you'll use that weird swoopy S. And then the next symbol is the TH sound, and that's just a T and a sh, exactly what you would think. So when you say ch, you're actually making a t, sh, t, sh, t, sh, t, ch, t, ch, putting it together, and that's the sound that you're making. So in words like watch, you'll use that symbol there. Now, last but not least, these are symbols that don't exist. That's C, X, Y, Q. Those symbols don't exist in the IPA, except for X, which kind of shows up in some dialects, but don't worry about that for a long time. We'll talk about that in a later dialect video. It technically makes the sound. It's weird. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But for the most part, you will never use those symbols. They don't exist in the IPA, and it'll just confuse you. So anytime you see those in an actual word that you want to convert into the IPA, you find a different symbol that actually represents it. Next slide. This is your guide. Take a screenshot, peeps, as I'm making that little cute little thing up in the corner. It's kind of cheesy, but this is an important guide. I will use these symbols and all the stuff that I taught in this video in later videos. So make sure you take a snapshot of that and learn those. Like I said, for the first half of that sheet, you'll probably know them already. You won't need to worry about them. But later on, you'll want to think about the other ones. So, on the closer side to me here is the ones that you'll need to take a little closer look at just to make sure. So, thank you all for watching so much. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I got a ton of more videos coming. I know in previous videos I've said, oh, I got a video coming out next month. This time I promise I have more coming. Because I have a full system set up. I already got my next thing ready to go. I'll probably get it recorded here soon. So I'm excited to start this new adventure with you to teach you the IPA and then the dialects, because I like to teach it in a mathematical format. This may not work for some people, but it will work if you're looking to get something to write down, a key to learning the dialect of your choice. If you're going for a performance of any kind and you want to do a Russian dialect, how I'll teach it is when we get to those videos, I will have you write it out in the American Standard IPA, which is partially what I'm taught here and what I'll teach in the next 2 or 3 videos. I will teach you how to write it in the American Standard, and then I'll teach you how to put it into the dialect form, which is a matter of taking the American Standard IPA and just plucking out a few symbols and putting the dialect ones in. And I'll talk about that more when the dialect videos come. Just like I said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will hopefully be getting a video out here very soon. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye!